Good day, one and all. Today I'd like to talk to you about when we get caught in a storm that you or no one else saw coming, and particularly how this relates to schools and education during the COVID pandemic. Every industry sector and institution has been affected by the COVID pandemic one way or another. Some have been decimated, like the sectors, the tourism, travel, and hospitality sectors, while others have had to adapt quickly, like the education sector and specifically schools. A number of our families have also been affected, and has been by far the most challenging of times that teachers, headmasters, and school leadership have had to deal with. It has been a test of adaptability, agility, and most of all, resilience. As of mid-March this year, the OECD estimated that over 421 million children were affected due to school closures announced or implemented in 39 countries throughout the world. It has been a challenging test that Penryn and Penreach and the Penryn family have quickly grasped, grappled, and wrestled with, taking their stakeholders along a new course that has had to be charted to remain relevant and effective in delivering our educational offering to our scholars and the community. It has required us all to step up and step out. We've had to step up as we adapted, adjusted, and found new ways of being effective in delivering education in trying times. Teachers were required to step out of their comfort zones to prepare and deliver online lessons during the lockdown and then run a dual program when schools opened up again, all of which, all of which required personal sacrifices and resilience to keep moving forward. Learners and their parents, too, had to take greater ownership of their studies from their home environments. When the Council was working on the Penryn 21 strategy with school leadership towards the end of last year, online teaching and programs were identified as a key element of the future strategy and plans for Penryn and Penreach. Little did we know that we'd be catapulted into this arena due to the circumstances around the COVID pandemic that necessitated that we adapt with agility and speed. While our Penryn scholars and parents have been fortunate in being able to receive and participate in our online programs offered as an independent private school, staff and scholars at a number of public schools have not been as fortunate, as the educational department has been severely challenged to deliver a meaningful online program due to limited resources, leadership, and challenges in the home environments, especially around availability of data and devices and parental supervision. We also know that our learners who benefited from good supervision and encouragement at home from their parents and easy access to data and devices were greatly assisted with continuing their education. For those less fortunate that did not necessarily have the support, it really disrupted their educational program. This is especially true for those scholars with special needs and younger scholars, where on-site supervision, socialization, and structured play makes all the difference for their growth and success. There have been many articles about the importance of getting young scholars back to school and the impact on the child's social and psychological well-being, behavior, and learning the longer this is delayed, which was not aided by the delays in the Department of Social Development in approving the startup of the early childhood centres. At this point, it's useful to remind ourselves of the numbers in public versus private school education. In January 2019, the numbers provided by the Department of Basic Education regarding the number of scholars, educators, and schools in the public and private sector were as follows. In terms of number of learners, independent schools only accounted for 3%, or 402,000 scholars out of a total of 12.89 million scholars. In terms of educators or teachers, independent schools accounted for 8% of the total number of teachers, 34,000 out of 433,000. And the number of schools, independent schools only accounted for 8%, basically 1,966 out of a total of 25,762. What is very clear is that private and independent schools represent the minority, but are better resourced in terms of scholar to teacher ratios and size of school and classes. As a Penryn parent and scholar, you are not only in the minority but are also privileged and fortunate, especially in this time of crisis, to have been able to continue receiving planned work and support, albeit with some disruption and continuous fine tuning by the teachers as they sought order in a time of disorder, as we all had to find ways of moving forwards. We should not take this lightly or for granted, especially considering the difference it will make in the immediate and long term outcome of our children's lives. The circumstances that have arisen due to the pandemic have also shown the importance of public private sector partnerships and collaboration. During a crisis such as the COVID pandemic, clear public sector policy and directives founded on good research, data, and collaboration with the private sector go a long way to facilitating effective solutions, enabling environments and operations in any sector, but particularly the education sector. Penreach is also another great example of a private public partnership initiative in education that has and continues to make a significant difference in the lives of so many scholars in previously disadvantaged schools in the region through the various programs and interventions to support and develop teachers and school management, as well as offering access to extracurricular activities through sports reach and art reach. Penreach has also had to adapt in the current circumstances to be able to continue to support and encourage the educators and management in our public sector partner schools. This started right at the beginning of lockdown when Penreach identified the need for children who normally would have received a meal at school but no longer could with schools being closed. This gave rise to the Penreach Cares program, where funders and funding were mobilized and meals and food parcels were delivered to thousands of homes and scholars during the lockdown. Penreach has also had to adjust their offering during this time to continue to support the educators and management. We can all be very proud of our public private sector education partnership, Penreach, and all that they achieve and the continued support that they receive from their donors to continue with their educational outreach. Our challenge is how to continuously improve our understanding, support, and partnership with Penreach as a school and a school community, given the meaningful work they do and results they achieve. The challenge for our country and public education remains focused on narrowing the gap, not only on the effectiveness and efficiency of educational resource deployment, but also with the challenge of the digital and technology divide in access to and cost of data and devices, especially in times such as this. While we would not have chosen to live through this pandemic and this time of disorder and unpredictability, it has catapulted and pushed us into a new way of thinking, adapting, and responding to enable us to remain relevant and effective in delivering our educational offering. Some of these new methods may be temporary, but for us at Penryn, a pathway to the future of online education and the delivery thereof has opened up. We are busy investigating how we can continue and improve on our online program in tandem with our on-campus offering for those learners who are either compromised or unable to participate on campus for whatever reason. Even though we are slowly coming out of the storm and have had to deal with storms within the storm, like having to face criticism from a group of alumni on certain racism allegations, which necessitated taking a good hard look at ourselves, biases and prejudices through the work of the Transformation and Diversity Committee and climate survey undertaken by Dr. Michaels Consult. I am extremely proud how Penryn and Penreach have adjusted, adapted, and responded with agility and effectiveness, and I'd like to express my sincere gratitude on behalf of the Council and Trust to the teachers, the support staff, and leadership for your efforts and the sacrifices you have all made in stepping up and out to make it happen. To the scholars and parents for your adaptability, response, and support. Our partners and stakeholders for their continued support and interest in all that makes Penryn and Penreach the unique institutions they are and what they achieve. And my fellow council members and trustees for your oversight and leadership. You see, in life, it's not only knowing what needs to be done, it is really about getting on and doing it that's important. This is at the heart of what we term being future fit, being aware, adaptable, agile, responsive, and resilient as individuals and an institution. I'd like to close with a quote from Haruki Murakami, the Japanese writer and novelist, who said, and I quote, "And once the storm is over, you won't remember how you made it through, how you managed to survive. You won't even be sure whether the storm is really over. But one thing is for certain, when you come out of the storm, you won't be the same person who walked in. This is what the storm is all about." Close quote. We give thanks to our founders and those who have continued to carry the torch so that Penryn and Penreach can continue to be that beacon of light and hope in education and in our community for one and all. God bless Penryn, our community, and our country. Thank you.